is a place to be.
Keep watching. My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godi Odidi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Souq News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Souq News.
So I'm happy that Souq TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Souq News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for? And I think Souq News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Souq News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching.
Hello and welcome to Market Insights. Yes, and like the name implies, we discuss issues that surround the marketplace. Everything you need to know, everything you require, to know with regards to knowledge about your business and your market. I'm Adesua Iramosele, and we are kicking off the show immediately. And we have virtually our guest, and he is Oluwatosin Oladeton, and he is a business strategist as well as a financial analyst, is joining us virtually. Good morning to you, Tosin.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, Tosin, I don't know if you can hear me. If you can, just give us...
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, amazing. How are you doing today?
Good, good. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, you are a financial analyst. You want to give us some insight into what's happening with our books, our financial books in Nigeria currently?
Okay, so most organizations are still trying to close their books for the period, and most of them are having calls with their auditor at this point in time. And considering the financial year and 2023 just ended recently, there have been several audit and controls engagement to ensure that there is reliance and there's integrity of the financial reporting, and to communicate the feedback of the performance of businesses to the stakeholders. Stakeholders simply are the main users of the external report, the financial report, and they could expand as far as the shareholders, the customers, the suppliers, and is a very good time. You're likely to place more reliance on a report that is audited. Someone have provided an assurance on it than to place reliance on a report that is unaudited, or that it doesn't have any reliance on someone that on a firm or an integrity that has the competence to provide that assurance to it. So that's basically what we're seeing happening around this time.
All right, thank you very much, Tosin. Now, we are looking at the commodity market, and we are streamlining it to palm oil, the importation of food generally in Nigeria, and using palm oil as a case study. How would you, describe our importation of food in Nigeria currently?
So basically, within Nigeria, food and beverage is impacted. Inflation of food and beverage is impacted by two major things, which is the FX the FX, the prices of food and beverage is impacted by two major things, which is simply the FX and the inflation. So currently, Nigerian inflation is around 28.92 from the report that the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics released on Monday. And we know that there was over a 38% devaluation of the foreign currency last year, which means that the average parallel market rate of the which an average person could source the dollar or source the FX is about above 1,300, when the official exchange rate is oscillating between 1,000 above 1,000 naira. Now, what that implies, considering the fact that Nigeria is a major importer of crude oil, palm oil, palm oil in the sense that the finished product. It's important to know that Nigeria, early as far back in the 1950s and 1960s, Nigeria was a major producer of palm kernel and even palm oil. Majority have the news that the news have it that, or information or history has it that majority of the palm kernels in Malaysia and Indonesia, which account for over 85% of the total world output in palm oil, is being produced, was sourced from Nigeria. That is, if you're looking at when it comes to palm oil production, the palm oil production, it's important to know that it all starts from the palm kernel. Palm kernel is being produced largely within Malaysia and Indonesia, and palm oil is being refined and finished good is being refined and sent. China is also leading that particular market. Now, the question is majorly, what is the real issue if Nigeria have been doing so well within the palm kernel space previously within the 1950s and 1960s? What did they get wrong this time around that they are not able to do so well? And it's not, Nigeria is not even among the first five. Nigeria is about the fifth or sixth when it comes to the production of palm oil within in the global scale. So remember, I made mention that two countries, Malaysia and Indonesia, account for over 85% of the production, and that's to say that there is really an issue. First, it's important to know that over 90% of Nigerian farmers that are playing within the palm oil space are substantive farmers. That is, they are practicing substantive agriculture. Basically, they just want to produce for and consume for them to use at home. And for a business like that, you need to take it to the commercial space, bring it to get a lot of aggregators to be able to play within that industry. Unlike when we have forest reserve for the likes of cocoa, over just like about 5% forest reserve is allocated to palm oil, and those are one of the major issues. It's not like Nigeria actually got it right with cocoa, but if you look at the foreign trade statistics, we have that when it comes to agriculture, cocoa is always within the first three. As at Q3, cocoa was number one. Flowers and others like hibiscus and others were number two. We have sesame seed coming number three. We have cashew nut playing within number 4 or 5. But if you look at the detailed report of the last trade on agriculture, we don't find palm kernel there. We don't have palm kernel there. But if you go back, just the same way the groundnut pyramids of Kano was there, the cocoa malls of this west was there. We also have that Edo and Akwa Ibom, which are predominantly the places where we have rich deposit of palm kernel is not being refined now. That begs a question that first, we don't have a lot of people, or we don't have the government intervening. We don't have forest reserve to be able to ensure that the right seedlings get to the right farmers. We don't have that the right training for the people getting to the right training by the right institutions, getting to the right people who are playing within those particular sector. It is also important to note that aside from the production, Nigeria is targeting about 1.25 metric tons when it comes to producing palm oil, the production of palm oil. Just now, aside from the fact that you want to produce just about 1.25 metric tons per day, it's important to note that production is not just the only thing. You also need to find a way where whereby you are able to get the major value. So if you look at the total value chain, you're only having about just 10% or less than 10% of the total value of palm oil that is got from the production. So the merchandise, the manufacturing, the merchandise, the processing, further processing before becoming palm oil is also a place to focus on. So most Nigerians are not likely to trade a derivative or hedge against the movement in palm oil, unlike the movement in the crude oil. Just like we have observed that crude oil dropped by about 0.5% to about 77 dollars, sorry, and almost everybody, the federal government is putting their neck all out. But if we're able to do it the same way we did for cocoa, cocoa has been consistent within that particular trade export. I think we could also get it right with palm oil or produce from palm kernel, since we've been doing it right in the 1950s and in the 1960s. You just need to realign our priorities once again.
Much for that one. Now, it may interest you to know that locally, palm oil is consumed, locally or domestically, we actually consume up to 2.4 million tons on the average, whereas Nigeria is able to actually produce about 800 tons on a yearly basis. How would you suggest we bridge this gap?
Okay, this question has been, just like we said, we only have a few players. In fact, when you look at it, it's only majorly FT and cocoa that is majorly playing in the export of palm crude. And if you even look at the books of FT and cocoa, you will see that they are doing more, they are getting more value from cocoa than even the palm kernel. So one thing is to produce. The answer is not that there is no market in Nigeria to consume the palm oil. We are importing a lot of palm oil from Indonesia, Malaysia. We're also importing from China. The answer is we don't have the right processing facilities or to convert this raw palm kernel into finished goods. It's not like the land is not there. It's not like the resource to be able to generate the palm kernel is not there. We've got it right before. Nigeria was even one of the Nigeria was exporting about 40% of the total palm kernel or palm output of palm kernel business as far back as the 1950s. So if you are exporting from 40, you're contributing about 40% of the total trade of palm kernel 60 years ago. And you're now contributing less than 5%, means that you need to realign some priorities. And some of the priorities to realign is to serve the over 220 million Nigerians who actually consume palm oil. Although it's important to note that only a fragment of the palm oil is consumed at the base level. Majority of them use it for industrial or use it in making of palm cosmetics like food, cosmetics and other byproduct of palm kernel. So what is important to know is that you need to play in the particular space of not just planting, but also having an aggregator hub. Nigeria does not have a sole aggregator hub for you to be able to harness all the palm kernel. Also, it's most known that for palm you can get more of it from the dry season and you can get less. So you get majority of the output from the dry season between November and February. So what do you do to ensure that it's being stored properly, it's being collected properly, it's being stored properly, it's being preserved, and it is made ready for export? If you're looking at the grading of the palm kernel, an average Indonesian or a Malaysian palm kernel is going to have a higher grade than the Nigerian palm kernel, simply not because that Nigerian soil is not able to produce a high-level grade palm kernel, but it's just simply because they've not passed through the right processes, the right storage facilities, the right preservation techniques, the right nutrition for those plants. And also, once we get the palm kernel, we have a strong, there's no reputable organization, there's no strong organization that is able to produce to meet the demand. So if there is a market, I think we should supply market, not just Nigeria, but also across West Africa. I think we should also address the issue of converting that palm kernel into finished goods.
Oh, well, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, I will see that food inflation rate as at December last year on a year-on-year basis, was slated at 33.93%. And this is an increase from the previous year, 2022. Now, how would you say that the importation of oil, of palm oil in Nigeria, how would you say it has impacted the inflation rate?
Okay, so when it comes to the food inflation, it is important to note that inflation on food index is majorly aggregated based on all the food products that are being consumed. So we have what are the major consumption, just like we said that palm oil is something that is consumed as vegetable oils used in the production of food. But speaking to that, just like by the time we were addressing the December inflation, we knew that it was going into the festive season. Among the prices of goods and commodities that increase the value the most consist of tomato, onions, and rice, turkey. So majority of that was people were trying to shop for Christmas or consume for Christmas during the festive period. So, but aside that, there was also consumption of oil. In fact, some organization added that they gave rice and oil, although some organizations did not give oil. So now take note, if you have to consume oil because you have to use the oil in production of your rice, and majority of this is being imported. We know what the exchange rate that I've been mentioned that aside from the exchange rate, there's also the increase in the prices of goods and commodities. So which essentially the exchange rate was what made things really relatively we had the exchange rate on the imported foods. A large number of Nigerian food and beverage are being imported compared to those that are being sourced locally. And for those that are being sourced locally, we also know that the fuel subsidy also had an impact because the cost of diesel, the cost of logistics has increased significantly. Diesel is selling above 1,000 per liter, has increased significantly. Storage and mobility of this product or this byproduct is also an impact. So those are some of the major factors that made Nigeria to have an all-time high increase in the food index, and the inflation rate at 28.92 was Nigerian all-time high because it has been on a spike for 12 months starting from December 2022.
Okay, just like you said earlier about Nigeria being one of the highest producers of palm oil in the 1960s, and and we can see a drastic decline because now we are, in fact, we are not even amongst the 10 major producers of palm oil. How would you prefer a solution with regards to this? How should government help this sector to ensure that we are more productive?
So the agricultural sector is a very, very important sector for Nigeria, considering that is more or less like an alternative for the sole dependence on crude oil. About 90% of Nigerian export revenue is got from crude oil and natural gas, about 84% from crude oil. Natural gas and its other derivatives account for the other 12%. Agriculture is contributing raw materials is contributing just like about 4%. So most especially we call that the Dutch disease because you've discovered that you found a new bride. So you think that it's time to do away with the farmer all the families that have been contributing to it. So it's important to note that the demand for byproduct of crude oil is reducing. So such that they are exploring other alternative sources of energy are currently being explored, such as electric vehicles, solar panel vehicles, and all that. Now that means the government has to invest so much in the capital expenditure of the agriculture. Now, investing in agriculture, investing rightly in agriculture, one, ensuring that there are enough forest reserve for you to be able to grow this farm produce, ensure that you also have a very good monitoring system to support and programs to support the farmers to ensure that they plant the right seed, that they are able to cater for their trees or care for their trees in the right way, and also they are able to get the actual byproduct from this palm or from this palm trees the right way. Aside from that, you could create aggregator hubs whereby they could deposit or bring all their palm seed after being harvested for them to be appropriately compensated. And the only way you could get the greater value from the chain is for you to ensure that there are regional hubs and there are also manufacturing companies that have the right capacity to turn this palm kernel into finished goods such as palm oil and other byproduct that could be derived from the palm kernel fruit. So government has to invest across the whole value chain, and it's an opportunity to earn a lot of exports because there's a global demand. The total value of the palm oil industry is above $50 billion. So there's a lot of value there, but we're only getting a fraction. And the two major players, Malaysia and Indonesia, were not even within the space as far back as the 1950s. And were not majorly within the space. Nigeria alone was contributing close to 45% of the total palm oil global value chain.
Okay, now we know that Malaysia and Indonesia, back in the day, they used to be below Nigeria. Nigeria was like one of the highest producers, and Malaysia and Indonesia, who are now the highest exporters of palm oil, before they came up. Now Nigeria is importing palm oil from Malaysia majorly. Now, what would you say to that? How would you, how can Nigeria come up again from where they used to be? What are the strategies that can be put in place to ensure that Nigeria, takes its place as the giant, with regards to palm oil production? And what can government do to actually encourage investors to come invest in this sector?
So one, there is a need, aside from the government, there's also a need for the private players to play within the space. Government alone cannot do everything. Nigeria is not totally a socialist economy or a socialist society. Nigeria is more or less like an hybrid of a socialist and a capitalist society. So we need the private investors, and I would rather propose a public-private partnership model to ensure that this palm estates or the forest where this palm are majorly sourced are carefully studied and preserved to see how we could improve. Nigeria can actually do much more than the 1.2 trillion metric tons of palm oil that is produced per day. Nigeria can do much more than that. So they need to invest rightly within that particular space to ensure that they're able to get the right product from the palm estate. Also, they need to invest such that there are enough aggregators to bring everything to a collection point where it's being processed. When it comes to agriculture, you cannot really get the value at the finished product. So it's only when you are involved in the whole value chain. So from the palm kernel down to the finished product, you need to play heavily in that. You cannot just be exporting the palm kernel and be able to get the best out of it. You are not going to get the best out of it because there are a lot of opportunities that you're going to lose. So just the same way they've taken a bullish step, Nigeria have taken a bullish step in the crude oil by supporting Dangote to have a refinery which is going to be dispensing diesel and jet one fuel this year, and also investing in the modular refineries, and also planning to lease the Port Harcourt refineries and other refineries to private investors. So you should also do that for the agricultural space too. Those are things that I think you are going to be able to get value from. If you're able to do that, just apply the same strategy that you've done recently within the crude oil space to the agricultural space, then you'll be able to get the more value from it and even perform better than than Indonesia or Malaysia, because they are just, the government is supporting a major form of revenue and is highly industrialized. Let us also reflect on that and see how we can do that here.
All right, thank you very much, Oluwatosin. We will be back from this short break to continue the conversation, and then we'll be going into the currency market. Stay with us.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm God Didi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Souq News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Souq News.
So I'm happy that Souq TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Souq News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for. And I think Souq News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Souq News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemari Glover.
Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souq News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it, because this is Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souq News. Here's the Souq News who had the courage to transcend a locked off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souq News. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Now let's delve into the currency market, where we'll talk about the exchange rate for the 16th of January 2024. So the USD, that's the US dollar, is buying for 852 naira, and the pounds is buying for 1,078 naira, and the euros is also buying at 927 naira. Yes, and the US dollar is selling at 853, and the pounds is selling at 1,080 naira, and the euros is selling at 929 naira. All of these are at the official market. Now let's move on to the parallel market. The parallel market, the USD is buying for 1,310 naira and selling at 1,320. The pounds is buying at 1,640 and selling at 1,655, while the euros is buying at 1,365 naira and selling at 1,380 naira at the parallel market. Now, to you, Tosin, what do you make of these figures? Because we can see that the prices at the parallel market keep increasing, while the one in the official market seems to, you know, it's a little steady. Of course, there are little tiny, you know, changes, but they are not as much as that of the parallel market. What do you make of this?
So with respect to the parallel market, a lot of people that source for foreign exchange in Nigeria go to the parallel market. Even me and you, if we need to get foreign exchange in Nigeria, we have to go to the parallel market. Now, for the official exchange rate, we saw that the majorly what has really impacted it to stabilize around above 800 relative to 1,000. It is traded above 1,000 this year. It's simply because the intervention from the Afrexim, the CBN and a deal with Afrexim of about $2.3 billion to see how they could leverage the impact from the crude oil. So an inflow of that has helped put some relief. And also we saw that there was a disbursement of some funds, millions of dollars to the airlines, even though the airlines complain that that is little or nothing. So because there is a huge backlog, everything comes to level of demand and supply. I still expect the large arbitrage between the parallel market and the official market to continue throughout 2024, considering the fact that there's a lot of backlog. There's a lot of backlog, and there is the opportunity is not yet there for people to be able to really access it at the bank. So imagine you want to source for FX, you have to go to the black market to get. Even companies have to go to the black market. There's a lot of bureaucratic policies, and the reason why why those things are there is simply because there is lower demand. There is higher need for there's lower supply than demand. Sorry about that. There's a lower supply of the FX to the average to the Nigerian consumers than the demand. The moment, and it's the law of demand and supply. If the higher your demand, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. So if if the supply increases or there is a cushion effect in the supply, we're all expected to have that. And how can the supply increase? Nigeria need to find a way to be able to generate more funds. And most of the funds, most of the foreign funds Nigeria can generate is as a result of the sale of crude oil. Now that the price of crude oil is slashing like about by 0.5% is a bit of concern for the country. And we've seen that the capital importation into Nigeria has gone to an all-time 10-year low. So simply means that investors are pulling their funds out of Nigeria. So Nigeria really need to do something different. Aside from leveraging the opportunities from the Afrexim deal and other loans that are going to come within the short term, Nigeria really need to invest in having a trade surplus, and ensuring effective allocation to the banks and the major dealers will be able to put a bit of stability. But I still expect this arbitrage to continue to last for within the year 2024.
No, very well. Now, we know that the parallel market is subject to location, and each location can have a different exchange rate price. Now, what do you think can be done to regulate the prices of the parallel market, and even further discourage the use of the parallel market for exchange rates, so that more people can patronize or go to the official markets to actually get their foreign exchanges done? What's your take on that?
Okay, so now the parallel market, there will always be an arbitrage between the parallel market did not just come into place 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It has always been there. So for example, I want to source dollar to pay for some shopping expense. I cannot easily go to the bank. What we are just trying to do is that there should be a lower margin. There should be a lower margin. The parallel market will always be there. In fact, at some point in time earlier within Nigerian history, we had that the parallel market was actually cheaper than the official market, because for the official market, you want to source majorly for import, you want to source majorly for export, you want to source majorly for travel like Hajj, you want to source for education and all that, or you want to walk into a bank to be able to do that. That's more regulated. An average person, the parallel market is not that as regulated as that. And why there will be a bit of price arbitrage is, first, just the same way that there's price arbitrage in the cost of fuel. The amount of fuel is being sold in Lagos is not the same amount that is being sold in other part of Nigeria. So there's this still as a result of what is the total cost for you to have got there. We know that majority of the foreign exchange comes in through import or capital flight, majorly through the major trade centers. Apapa and Souq can account for over 90% of the total trade that is happening within Nigeria. So you're likely to have more inflows. People that are clearing their goods have more access to forex. But if you're going to a place like, let's say KB, or you're going to an interior, let's say an interior, let's say Niger, aside from the trade that they're having with the northerners, with the northern regions, you are likely to have higher demand for that. Or if you go to, so that's just what attributes to it. Where are you getting the major source of that fund from, and what is the major drivers of that? So if you're able to address the supply issue, you're able to address to ensure that there is appropriate supply of that. You manage those that have the big shots like the airlines and the major importers, the major importers, the major exporters. You're able to meet their particular demand. Of course, it's going to come very low. In fact, I can tell you that it's possible for the parallel market to be trading at a lower price than the official market. But we're having this arbitrage simply because there's a supply issue. We don't have enough supply to meet the demand that is required for the Nigerian market.
Hey, so how would you suggest the central bank or the federal government generally, sources for foreign exchange to increase the supply you speak about?
So it is both a monetary tool and a fiscal tool. Now, when we're talking about the federal government, we are more or less looking at what is it in a physical tool. So physical tool simply means that what is, for example, the federal government is taking loans. There are several loans that have been approved from the World Bank, from different organizations and all that. So those loans are going to come in foreign exchange. Also, federal government really need to pay attention to its debt, the debt management policy, because I have a majority of your debt exposure in foreign currency. I have a majority of your debt exposure in foreign currency or in local currency. If you have a majority of your debt exposure in foreign currency, it simply means that you also find a way to manage that debt. So if you are doing a very aggressive fiscal policy that invests you to spend more or source more funds than you are earning, then there's an issue. Now, with respect to it being a monetary tool, is considering the fact that Nigeria is relatively managing a Dutch exchange. A Dutch exchange simply means that in managed float exchange, there's a bit of intervention of the price between it's not trading at the real price of demand and supply. If it was trading, everybody can get at the real price of the parallel market to be a more reflective rate of the price it is trading. Considering that there's a bit of intervention, the CBN can come in the monetary side to ensure that there's increasing access to this particular funding, and is increasing ability for people, effective management of the foreign reserve, effective allocation to the right people. You're making it easy. Everybody have easier access. There's a lot of bureau de change that not, I don't think should be required. If I can simply walk into a bank without and get my access for forex, or I can get it on platforms, then I don't need to go to the black market to really do that. So both the federal government has a role in managing its debt, managing its trade, and the CBN also has a role in driving the right monetary policies. And I must commend Olayemi Cardoso for what he's really doing in shaping the banking industry and helping to produce increase more stability or more confidence within the industry, and ensuring that the CBN job is clearly different and totally different from the federal government job. There should be clear independence of the CBN from the federal government. With that, we will not just be able to address the foreign exchange issue. We'll also be able to address inflation, trade, and other issues, and that impact the purchasing power parity of an average Nigerian, which means an average Nigerian propensity to be able to buy, sell, and spend money.
Thank you so very much. Now, let us link it back to the commodity market. How would you say the foreign exchange has impacted the importation of palm oil specifically into the nation?
So, considering the fact that there's been over a 38% devaluation in Nigeria of the foreign exchange in Nigeria, the palm oil is you're sourcing earlier this year will be cheaper. Earlier last year, sorry, will be relatively cheaper than the palm oil than you're sourcing because um, I'm sourcing directly, not in Naira, but actually in US dollar. We've not really been able to make much progress as regards the Naira to yuan swap deal that is proposing. And also, I think BRICS is coming up to have a universal currency to ensure there's free trade. Majority of these palm oil, majorly that Nigeria imports are from China, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So if the foreign exchange has moved in a volatile rate or has moved in an adverse position, then it's also expected that the prices to also follow that particular trend and move in that same adverse position. So what government can do is if there's relative stability of the FX and the right fiscal and monetary policies in place, we should be able to get a fair price on it. But since Nigeria is majorly an importer of palm oil, Nigeria is likely to suffer more from it. But it's also fine to know that it's not among the top imports. Over 40% of Nigerian import is majorly from refined petroleum. If government is able to, so I would not really advise the government to. Palm oil is not really something that is of concern at this point in time. If we're able to get it right with the refineries and we're able to reduce our importation of PMS and byproduct of crude through which the refinery is being upscaled and the Dangote refinery in the works is able to help us ameliorate, we should be able to get something better, a fairer deal from it. But the right capital investment is still required in the palm estate and the conversion of palm kernel to finished goods, which is palm oil and other byproducts.
All right, thank you so very much, Oluwatosin Oladeton. Thank you so much for your time on Market Insight. I beg your pardon today.
Thank you.
All right, and that's the size of the show. Many thanks to you for joining us. Join us again tomorrow for an even more enlightening session. I'm Adesua Eramoseli. Good afternoon. Hello and welcome to News Update right here on Souq News. I'm Adesua Iromoseli. Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson has filed a lawsuit in King County Superior Court to block the proposed $25 billion merger of Kroger and Albertson, two major grocery chains. Ferguson contends that the merger, which would account for over half of the state's grocery sales, would harm consumers and result in higher prices. The suit argues against reduced choices and increased prices for shoppers, stressing the impact on both consumers and workers. Kroger, based in Cincinnati, and Albertson, based in Boise, Idaho, are seeking to merge in 2022 to compete with major players like Walmart and Amazon in the grocery business. The lawsuit delays the expected closure of the deal until the first half of Kroger's fiscal year, ending mid-August, as the company engages in ongoing dialogues with regulators. Stay tuned for more update on Souq News. I'm Adesua Iromoseli. Good afternoon.